Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today, my guest is Peter Czimback. Peter is a senior technology and transformation executive with more than 20 years of experience driving enterprise growth through AI, digital platforms, and global partnerships. He's a former Fortune 250 leader who architected large-scale innovation programs and built ecosystems with Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Palantir, and Amazon Web Services to translate emerging technology into revenue, market share, and investor confidence. Most recently, Peter served as Vice President of Experience Innovation at Aramark, where he founded Emerge, the company's digital incubator. During his 25-year tenure, he architected Aramark's AI evolution from early consumer AI to generative and agentic platforms. He built a repeatable innovation model that produced $500 million in new revenue. He regularly briefed executive leadership and the board on AI and digital strategy, influencing capital allocation and long-term growth across a 270,000 employee global organization. Today, Peter and I talk about why you should not have an AI strategy, the future of customer service, and what you need to know about AI in 2026. Please enjoy Peter Czimback. Peter, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. And I love that I have really had the chance to get to know you. So, this is not the first time we are speaking. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, glad we had a chance to do this and Happy New Year. Hope you and everybody had a great
I've been
holiday.
picking your brain since before the new year
Mhm.
for months. I mean, you are such an interesting person because there are very few people that really do a great job of bridging technology and humanity and the human side. And you are really, you excel at both of talking to Wall Street about tech. But before we get into it, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's hear about you. And I
Sure.
know you have a long career. You just entered a new chapter. Let's get the overview of you, Peter, and how you came to this moment.
Sure. No, great to have the conversation. For me, and my background, I think kind of what separates me from being unique, besides probably I'm sure a lot of things my parents can tell you about, is I grew up, 27 years as I just exited my time at Aramark, but started absolutely at the bottom. I was a trainee when I started working. Every job that they would give me, I would do, no matter what. Stock shelves, cold call, deliver something, meet with a client, didn't matter. We want to do it. And it was that obsession of, it wasn't about like, I wanted to be an innovator. I wanted to be some great pioneer of technology. I just wanted to solve problems. I said, like, my career didn't start out trying to do anything more than I just wanted to find a problem and I wanted to solve it. And then figure out if I could, solve it for now or I could solve it for good. And I think that's really what kind of grew my career from starting as a, sales operations trainee, going into sales, then quickly into operations, marketing, long career marketing, where most of where I started to discover myself. That was really good at, again, not just problem solving, but problems that meant identifying new areas. And so I became very good through some great leaders, through successes and failures of building, creating new markets, creating new opportunities, and create a lot of things that generated over time billions of dollars for Aramark, and what created a lot of new opportunities for us to sell, for our operations team to do things a whole lot easier. And that's really what molded me from the marketing side to go into technology. Had a great CTO at the time, and she was one of the most amazing leaders I was fortunate to work for, who showed me how to bridge the business and technology side together and really kind of define and modernize what we needed to be, which ultimately led me to my last role at Aramark over the last 5, 6 years, which was to create an innovation narrative, which is really a short way of saying to transform, to take,
Is that what Emerge is? Because your
yes.
title was VP Experience Innovation and creator of Emerge.
Yeah. So
What
exactly.
was Emerge?
Emerge
What is Emerge?
was an organization that I founded and created under the leadership of IT. And it was really with a few goals in mind. And it was one, to differentiate ourselves, think about what were the new digital experiences we needed to have in order to ultimately, at the end of the day, to sell more, to hit our top line numbers, to improve our profitability as a company. The other part was to communicate. How do we really take a story and not tell you, hey, we have point of sale and it's PCI compliant, to then tell a differentiated story of how technology delivers experiences that no others can do? And that was the other piece. And then the other was to develop the ecosystem that can enable that. And really, that was the start of really what most people know commonly as a digital transformation. Create a forward look several years out, develop the narrative, the storytelling, the thing that you'll hear me say a lot today. The single most important thing to any organization is smart storytelling. If you don't do that, you will fail at everything else. What was that story? Then how do we deliver on that story? What kind of prompted it? Because it was not a technology thing. I used to say, we created Emerge to solve for experiences, to create amazing experiences for our consumers, for our operators, and our clients. And none of that had anything to do with technology. It had to do with the experience. Technology played the role once I understood and we told the story of that experience we had to create. And so that's really what Emerge's focus was, to support the company, to give them the tools they needed through kind of that lens of technology to win in the market, to grow profitably.
So, what was it that really was the secret sauce, your recipe for success? Because it sounds like, just to zoom out for the audience,
Mhm.
I mean, I know you spend a lot of time going to Wall Street to speak to investors, and then you're supporting the infrastructure of the business. You're talking to marketing. I mean, it's a lot. So, like, what's the cookbook? How do you handle all that?
Lots of caffeine, sleepless nights, and a good airline to get you to from point A to point B. No, it's I think through like, but you'll as many learn from me as you see today. You got to enjoy it, right? You got to believe it, right? I think the parts always there's those points around having a good belief and imagination that you could do it, right? Einstein always said imagination is more important than knowledge, right? If you do that, it's so unlimited of where you could take things. And my education and background was in that idea of systems thinking, where it's like you always start from ideal. And in this day and age where ideal is thought to be a negative term, I look at that as you should always like look at that from the perfect, imagine that perfect world. You will dial it back. And I think you have to have that belief system that if you do not have that belief system that I can imagine, that you can let the team imagine, that you could dare, that you would not be constraining yourself at the forefront of where you're trying to go, you could deliver anything. And we proved that, and we failed at it too. But we really did prove that belief system. I would say it was more important than anything. Second to that is that ability to tell the story. Everything starts from a story. Your whole life, right? Everything you do is about telling a story. You tell it. I said I had to tell it to my wife to hopefully convince her to marry me 20 plus years ago. And somehow it worked. I don't know how, but it did. You have to tell these stories to get companies to believe in your vision, to get clients to want to engage and say, oh my gosh, that's a smart, I want to use this company, to bring the partnerships forward, to get the consumers to engage and purchase from you. Everything starts with a story, and that story is something you really have to work at, tailor, and get people to talk about it. That storytelling is your shared vision that you always hear you want to have, that every organization needs to have. And I think the kind of third part of it is you've got to be honest with yourselves in the groups and the partners that you have. And again, we didn't build really anything in the stuff that we did, but man, we had great ideas. We created that. We made sure they always connected to how we win, how we make money as an organization. Because again, if nobody bought anything and you had this great new platform or AI thing, which we'll talk about later, no one cares, right? No one cares. If you save a little bit of money, Wall Street doesn't care, right? But if you could grow and it was attaining the targets and you were helping your salespeople be successful and you're being honest with that and developing around that, man, it became the sky's the limit. As you said, I still always go back to the most underrated skill that's not developed is the part of storytelling. And I had some, fortunate enough to work with some amazing storytellers that taught me and work with some folks on my team that became even better and different than me in how they told stories.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we've met because I've really learned about AI and tech from you. A lot of the people that I speak to in CX are having trouble right now with the story,
Mhm.
with the ROI story, with figuring out how to talk to their higher ups about AI, about CX. And it just seems like this year, AI and customer experience technologies have become front and center. I don't think in my whole career there's ever been a more pivotal moment. How did you learn to talk about ROI, customer experience, and AI? And do you have any lessons learned you can share with us?
Yeah, oh gosh, lessons, stories, scars, you got it. No, I don't, and I still don't know it all. And you never will. I think you hit home one great point. This is absolutely the most pivotal kind of point and or inflection point in anything I've ever seen. And unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember I was very early in the kind of like the dot coms kind of thing. But man, it is truly transformational. It's not a bubble. But the one part that I think that I'll get into a little bit is it's also not a strategy. The one part we had a lot of success is with an amazing team is that we never had an AI strategy. And by the way, companies shouldn't. Two things you should definitely not have, I say to technology leaders and someone who was one. One, don't have a technology strategy and don't have an AI strategy. Have an experience strategy. I'm not knocking everybody that does, although, but again, this is that belief system that if you focus on technology strategy, what's in the center of that conversation? Technology. If you have an experience strategy and how you make money, right? And how you deliver it to like a consumer, an operator, or whatever experience, then what are you thinking? Oh, what is always the center of everything you do? That consumer. You lose the insight, you lose that focus if technology strategy is just talking about the technology. You start to think about outputs versus outcomes. If a consumer doesn't buy from you, then whatever you did doesn't matter. No matter if you had the best systems in the world, the greatest AI, the coolest agent, if it doesn't contextualize that relationship and transact, no one cares.
Can we paint the picture for listeners that because we haven't talked much about Aramark, but I mean, it is an interesting company that a lot of people don't know a lot about, except that it's food and facilities management, hospitality, and more. I mean, when you talk about rolling out this experience strategy for given what you sell, like, can you paint the picture of that for
Yeah.
our
And
listeners?
said, even though I'm no longer there, I will start by saying like it's the greatest hospitality company in the world as far as I'm concerned. For 27 years, I've seen 270,000 of the most amazing people that just truly bring hospitality. I said it's, people like you said, it's food facilities. No, it's hospitality. It's that idea that it's going to be great if we're cleaning, transporting a patient, caring for a caregiver, or making sure a fan has a great experience at a baseball, football game, or whatever. Um, that's really like, and that was what I really took from my time at Aramark is to never lose that. You always remember like growing up these companies that were like banks went through this whole we're a technology company that's also a bank. Know your bank. It's like the one thing I loved about what never and even if I maybe even got in my mind I wanted to make it more technology. It was always good that that company, the culture that we had is that we're a hospitality company. And today, Aramark is an amazing hospitality company, the best, that they then leverage technology to deliver those great hospitality experiences. And the unique part about Aramark that's very different than most people don't know is there's tens of thousands of locations that are all individually different. One of the largest licensees of the Starbucks brand, and all the Starbucks look different. All kinds of, 400 or 500 plus different brands and thousands of locations, and they all are very different because they're designed in the homes of the clients we work with. And so that model complexity is amazing. And it's what makes it such a great company to work for and learn from is we handled model complexity that few had to deal with. And that part really challenges how you think about a consumer experience. It's not rinse and repeating a franchise brand. It's rinse and repeating 2 million different menus. And that complexity really was what, though, inspired me to take, to help show the organization there's other moves we can take. And for our leadership to help the company say, let's take these other moves and do these things differently. And I think that's the unique part of what kind of molded me is that there was so much complexity that if I can address it while then thinking about the simplicity of it, consumers
Yeah,
were very different. But man, if I could create simplicity for our associates, as I coined several years ago, the statement that by the way, our experience strategy for our associates that work for Aramark, one more moment to say good morning. That was,
right.
by the way, and that was technology's role to give us one more moment to say good morning to you. That's when it goes back to that comment I said a tech strategy versus an experience strategy. That's the difference. And when we always thought about that, we were making it easier and the teams were working on easier ways for our employees to work. I mean, some of the best leaders in technology I've had to work with there that were taking hundreds of thousands of hours away from, what the associate could do. So they could just be on the floor, talking to the associates, talking to the clients, talking to the consumers. And those are things that, by the way, AI can't do. Give you that freedom to have that moment.
Well, but you did bring up AI, and I do like
Yes.
to brag about to my friends that, hey, Peter really knows AI and he knows how to talk about ROI. So, could you just talk about the use cases you had at Aramark for AI so far, the things you can talk about, and how you were able to prove the value of that?
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying we at Aramark because it was definitely a group effort to do. I think the unique part about us where we got the good head start is we had been doing things around artificial intelligence since 2015. It was just known as artificial intelligence self-checkout. And we were one of the first companies to explore that idea. By the way, fast forward to today, there was more than 20+% of the transactions are artificial intelligent computer vision generated, more than any company I think that I know of. So we cut our teeth at it. Conversational AI space. Several of us took on as one of the first companies to use Apple Business Chat, which was conversational AI, which today you just know that as agentic AI, right? But less sophisticated at the time. Apple had great technology that we wanted to take for a ride and really explore that idea that I can create this unique experience with the consumer that matches what they like to do, which was just text message. So we had cut our teeth in a lot of things that succeeded. Some things didn't work. By the way, the Apple Business Chat thing worked a little bit. We realized it wasn't quite up to the technology, kind of the integrations and data architecture to expand it. But we still learned from it. We learned that consumers loved it and that they actually repeated at a rate that was astronomical. So we knew we had to keep going. So we kept going in that space. And so I kept researching. And again, my job was to stay ahead. So we was, again, you started to hear the generative AI conversation come out, researched it, looked at it, found a lot of things to it, worked a lot with the people in the organization. And we learned that definitely it's an opportunity. And we understood it because we had been in it. We also knew it's very hard to explain to people. And I think the first times we were explaining it to others in the company and outside was you'd tell them this and like, oh, Peter, we're not going to have robots running this company. We're a people company, 100%. I know. So you had to like figure out the right story to tell. I probably failed at it many times before I got the story right. That it wasn't about replacing humans. It was about making the best, taking the best from all the humans and giving it to the person that may be newest or has the least experience. And so that was once we kind of understood that, you started to figure out what you wanted to do. And then we learned the things that we took was, and I say timing is everything, some leadership changes and others, we took a very bold step. Our first use case was enormous and it focused on our supply chain. And the team did an amazing job. And we found the right partner in the company that we worked with, which was Palantir. And we took some bold steps. And we did it because we knew we could. We did it because
But what did they do? What did they do? Will you tell
we
us?
took,
What did Palantir do for you?
I'll say like, companies buy from lots of people. And it's hard to match all these things up. If you take a 20-ounce Coke and I say it's a 20-ounce Coke, and then you call it 20, Coke, but it's just K, CK or something, or you change the name, that shows up as a different item. And so we had thousands of the same item just listed differently. And so the idea was
Oh,
we
no.
wanted to harmonize, right? We wanted to take that idea that we wanted to understand our data, that so that if we understood our data, then we could create from our data, which then going to kind of fast forward is then you could act on your data. And that's, by the way, those 3 points I mentioned, that's machine learning, generative AI, and agentic AI. And we started with this idea of we wanted to understand. And so we used our partners, an amazing team in Aramark supply chain, just the freaking best people. And they were able to harmonize that. And that then set us forward. We knew we could do it. It was really big. We didn't break anything. By the way, if we didn't, it didn't work, we didn't break the company. And that's the part, everybody fears is like, oh my gosh, what if this doesn't work? You'll break nothing. You just maybe wasted some time, but you learned something, right? It goes to the belief system you have to have. You either win or you learn. We didn't fail.
Oh my god, I tell my daughter that all the
Yes,
time.
you win or you
Yeah.
learn, right? And again, it goes back to the part hopefully everybody takes from this, besides storytelling, of course, number one, belief system. You got to have the belief system. If you don't, you will go, we would have just done easy use cases with little simple things that, had we not though addressed our foundation, we would have just created these AI use cases that actually wouldn't have worked. If we don't know what we buy, make, or sell, and we create these tools to buy, make, or sell something, and we haven't addressed it, well, then you could be accelerating bad decisions. And that goes to the point around like this AI conversation. Like I said, you don't need an AI strategy. We didn't really have one, but again, the company had a strategy. We had a growth focused goal about driving, profitable growth. Stayed true to that. The AI use cases was to drive profitable growth. If we did it right, we are on the path to selling more profitably. We're also, but my biggest thing is, I always said, I'm more the growth person than the profit person. I think the AI use cases today, of course, can help your bottom line. But if you don't sell and grow your top line, again, you get to that point, then it doesn't matter. Eventually, you can't save your way to profitability, right? You've got to grow it. And so we kept that kind of mentality and belief of, it was about driving growth. It was about, again, understanding so we can create and act. And I think that's what the team at Aramark did, which was amazing, is that we had the right possibilities, the right partners, the belief system that we can do it, and the people that went and did it. And it's exciting to see now, being on the outside for a very, very short time, just about a week. I'm so excited to see where they go with this, because they have set a path that few have achieved. And I think it's impressive, and it's an impressive organization that I think really we followed and stayed true to the story, what we're trying to solve for, and put the right partners in place.
Technology. Let's talk about the future. I can even feel myself as an independent, as a thought leader, like the excitement around AI and customer service. And it just feels like a lot is happening right now.
Mhm.
Do you have any predictions for 1 year, let's say 4 years, or even 10 years because of AI and how it's going to change customer service?
It's interesting when you think about AI. Yes, this is absolutely an amazing point to be at it. And I go back to, what I'll say. Here's the one thing is for sure: the ones that don't get on this train of really thinking about your business and your outcomes, and then right, having a good business strategy that leverages AI, right? We don't have an AI strategy. I don't want to develop those. I want to develop great business strategies that then underneath have great digital and a great AI component to drive it. If you are not focused on AI as outcomes, one thing's for sure: in a year you're going to be a smaller company. You're going to be in trouble. That's the one part I can say for sure. Because those that are doing it focused on, does this deliver on the how I make money as an organization, those companies are going to win. Those that don't are going to lose. Because, by the way, they're going to spend a lot of money on AI that didn't achieve anything. And I think that's the part that, as I've been meeting with companies and talking to others, being on the outside now, is you've got to make sure that it goes to where how you make money. The part that I've always enjoyed when we created Emerge is we wanted to be very close to growth. We wanted to be accountable to our numbers. We didn't hit, if the company that made the year, we failed. It doesn't matter if we created the coolest new experience, digital, robotic, AI, whatever. If we missed the number, we failed. And I think that's the part where organizations have to get on this idea of AI can develop lots of outputs, but few outcomes. And unfortunately, we all get paid
Mhm.
on outcomes, right? I think, unfortunately, in my opinion, I think you have to think about that. So I think what's going to change in a year is the companies that don't embrace it are going to you'll see them struggle, and you'll see them struggle quick, because I think everybody's getting smarter at it. They're going to continue to get smarter, and they're going to start leveraging it. And you're going to find that what I think is what I hope, I'll say this is my hope of, people have the big question on AI. I mean, it's going to have, you're going to have less people working for you. I think if you did that, you failed too. If you created more productivity in your employees to deliver on the outcomes that make you money, if you could leverage AI, I always, when we were selling the idea, we said it was Terminator versus an Iron Man suit. For those of you who love the show, the movies, right? I wasn't creating Terminators to like replace people, destroy humans. I was creating Iron Man suits. And what Iron Man suits was, it gave you superpowers. And if I could take all the learnings of the best people and give that to you and make you 2 times more productive, well, I've created a unit economic change. right? I actually made a more valuable employee. If you have a more valuable employee that can deliver on your results that are 2 times, 3 times, whatever times more productive, and you've changed that unit economics, why would you get rid of it? You're just diminishing your
Mhm.
economic value as an organization. So you're not saving anything. You're actually ruining yourself. Hire more people. I think that's the part that, and again, this is the imagination, right? This is the part where I'm sure a lot of people are going to listen and go, "This guy's an idiot." It's my point of view, right? Mine only. But I do believe that if I can create more productive employees, you want more productive employees. You want more people saying good morning, as I said with our associate strategy,
Mhm.
because that emotion gets you to spend more money. That emotion gets you to do the things that a business wants you to do and contextualizes, creates value beyond a transaction. It moves from loyalty, which by the way, I think all these loyalty things are kind of dead technologies to begin with, but you can move from loyalty to affinity very quickly if you can have more human engagement. And I think that's the part that, and again, I say I hope because I know that, look, it is easy to say that I could replace people. And it is, and some companies may have to do that. I think if you look at it a different way, is you're going to replace skills that no longer need to exist because you've given them other skills that are much more valuable, and you've given them to the people that need it the most, and you're leveraging it from everyone else, and you're inherently kind of growing it and growing and growing it. And I think that's the part around, again, if you've got a good business strategy, it always is going to involve people. Like, it just is. So you have to accept that.
Mhm.
How do you want to create value in that asset? A human is an
Yeah.
asset. You've got to make it valuable. And I think that's where AI can do it. And if you create that multiple of value, get more of it. That's how you win. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the long story to your question is I think in the next year, you're going to see companies are going to leverage AI to create better workforces and have more workforces. And they're going to hire more people. The ones that aren't going to do it, they're going to continue to cut and they'll find these like fun AI use cases that save you a little bit of money, inside of your P&L, which by the way, most Wall Street folks don't care. They really like you create an AI agent. We created one, it was amazing, saved millions of hours, and no one really cared because it didn't generate. I mean, it generated some value to let us do more work. The where Wall Street's and others are and investors are going to care is where the more comes from. If I have less people answering calls and are doing more work that makes more transactions, there's where the value comes.
Okay. So Wall Street cares about overall growth and innovation and new business
They
opportunities.
care about how they get their money back. I mean, like anybody else, right? I mean, Wall Street, everybody does, right? Do you create the value you promised? And do you do it more so? And saving some hours that maybe drops 100 basis points doesn't do much. But my gosh, if you can create, again, go back to the employees. If I can create greater employees that don't quit, take the retail industry, it's 3, 4,000 employee to hire them, train them, and then they quit. And you think of like it's $1 trillion problem. If I could take companies and take a percent, 2%, you could change the valuations of their multiples, billions of dollars. Not that that's going to happen overnight. That's the journey of what you've got to get there. And that's why you've got to you think about your strategy is that experience strategy focused on achieving that high number.
Love it. So interesting. I feel like we could have a 20-part podcast series, Peter. We have so much
I,
to talk about.
I would say like I share these opinions. I'm sure there are people that like it's Peter's perspective of having gone through this. I think some may agree, some may disagree, and that's okay. I think the point is you got to have the conversation, right? And you've got to develop, goes back to the beginning, got to develop your story. I learned very quickly in this race, with what artificial intelligence is giving, is that boy, we certainly don't know everything. And to your point, a year from now, boy, I wish I had a magic wand. All I know is it's again, you're gonna have to do it and you got to focus on the right outcomes and those that you're going to see some really cool companies come out and some really cool experiences. I think from consumer perspective of man, imagine if you were generating so much affinity that brands, that people wouldn't live without your brand. Not just accepting because it's there, but I at that point of like, I can't live without it.
What are the companies that as a customer you feel that way about? Are there any that you could name?
I'll be biased and say Aramark. I think it's an amazing company, but I'm always going to be a fan of them. Love them
That's
all.
nice.
Um, So I think that, do I think any one company does it well? No. Look, I'll say, as a dad with kids and older kids and still and surviving on the world of Amazon, I think that, brands like that have tailored to you and can make your day easier are great. The fact that I
Yeah,
can bark at Alexa to order me something makes, but like,
it's
it
amazing.
allows me to do things that I want to go do during my day. I think you're seeing great kind of like moments. You're seeing certain things are getting better digitally. Those experiences are tying to you. And you're seeing it from the Walmarts and the Amazons and some others. I think where I'd like to see it is the ones that can tie that. You mentioned something I think I totally agree with, is where technology and kind of that human component looks almost like it's human, right? We learned something around conversational AI back in 2017. We're building, it was that idea that you wanted to have a human name. You wanted it to be a little bit very human. And so we did our first conversational AI thing. It was at a use case in the city of Philadelphia. And it had a little bit of a Philadelphia edge to it because, by the way, it wasn't cursing as a response to the negative, it was cursing in response to the good thing. So you wanted to have a little bit of fun with it. And I've seen some of those.
Cursing, warder,
Yeah,
warder,
yeah, you can say
use
what
your cards and
exactly.
dads,
As a Philadelphia guy, it's got to say water and got to
warder
say,
ice.
use guys and stuff like that. But it you got to have that human edge, and I want to see more of it. I think I haven't seen it great, but I think there's so many industries that could benefit. I think the airline industry is number one, has got to get on the bus, like get on or get off, because if you can't improve the passenger experience, but you've got great artificial intelligence models that make sure that things are in the right place in point A to point B, but your on time stinks and passengers don't like you. Not again, it goes to the point, none of it matters. I think the retail industry, where you can curate from all the data that exists and exists everywhere. And companies like Palantir are amazing at developing these ontologies. They're masses of information from everywhere to elicit a decision. If you can curate a great shopping experience, you think of the companies Wantables and others that exist that can get so refined based on the data that people look at digitally and shop and what you purchase and what you don't. You should be able to refine that to be more curated boxes that they ship to you and better personalized shopping experiences. And I think there's like this ultimate like unlock that you're going to be able to create so many more emotional moments using AI as a human element to it, that the experience is going to be amazing. Travel, leisure, I think, that idea that I know what you did and I can curate things using AI and as a foundation of what your purchase history and what you've done other places. You're going to get more of those Disney-esque moments that, again,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you're going to spend more money, which is always the point I keep going back to, is when you're building these things, remember what is your goal? Your goal is to create a great passenger tour, travel, human consumer retail experience, whatever that is, business outcome, so that your company hits their goals. And that's the point of, like, you've got to story tell that with the goals in mind. And does it get me there? Can it get me there quickly? By the way, I think that's those points of, will it get me there quickly? Will it generate an outcome? If not, stop, look at it to make sure it does, and get it there. And I said, you won't hit home runs all the time, right? And go to, as shared an Einstein quote before, I'll share my other favorite one, which is, failure is success in progress. You're going to fail
Mhm.
at it. I bombed a lot of things, like I said, in my career. But again, right, I won or I learned. And those
Yeah.
failures, business chat didn't work out like we had hoped. But man, you can fast forward to what we were doing in the I space, which got us, I think, well ahead of everybody when we were at Aramark together. And I think those are those things where you've got to take those leaps, keep your strategy clean.
Yeah. Yeah, on the right track. Peter, this has been so fun. I love talking to you. I feel like we could talk forever. And you have so many great stories. So you're definitely gonna have to come back on the show and do this again.
I would, said, I appreciate that. Love talking to you. It's always great to catch up. And look, as long as I can help, I said, I always share my career is that I wanted to be of service, and that's the hospitality thing that Aramark definitely ingrains in you. So this is, hopefully, if it helps someone think about something different, awesome. If it gives a chance to develop something that creates something we all purchase and go, oh my God, this is so great, wonderful. And so always just around to help. And I'm about to move into my kind of next phases and see if I can help do this at scale and help others kind of achieve this, because it's going to be, like I said, it is not a bubble. This thing's happening. Get on it,
Yeah.
enjoy it, believe in it more than everything, and you'll have some amazing success and do some really awesome things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this has been so fun. Do you mind if people add you on LinkedIn, or what if they
100%.
want to get in touch
Add me
with
on
you?
LinkedIn, shoot me a note. I love every minute of that. It's like to learn what everybody else is thinking.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Peter. You've been tuning into the Modern Customer Podcast. Until next time, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like or subscribe and follow my social content on other platforms where I post content daily, including X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and more.